So, you're lacking motivation. GAMSAT's just around the corner, and maybe you're feeling burnt out or disconnected, overwhelmed, disenchanted. What to do? Listen on, I'll get you sorted. Motivation comes from inspiration. So you can't you could just sit down and try and grind, but the issue with that is it's going to cost a lot of your resources. In the month before GAMSAT, it's really not the study that makes the difference. It's the way you manage adversity, and in particular the way you manage your energy, that in my experience teaching thousands of students really separates students in their performance. You want to come to treat your energy like you treat your finances, which is to say, save more than you spend, invest where you get the highest return, and cut your losses. So if you're not feeling motivated, but you just sit down and grind it out, in terms of yield, you might learn a bit, but it's going to cost your energetic resources more than you've learned, and that's just not worth it. Most people come into the GAMSAT energetically bankrupt, burnt out, tired, overwhelmed. But I never understood that. On the day of my GAMSAT, I was like a pit bull straining against its leash. I wanted to just devour that exam, and I did. But I burnt out, I think it was 3.5 weeks before the GAMSAT. And I rested for a week straight. I did nothing. And that to me, I was stressed. Why was I stressed? I was studying 18 hours a day. I really overdid it. I had quit a job in the corporate world, earning 250 to 400 grand a year. But it was just as COVID hit, and I had a lease for a car that was, I think it was $1,500 a fortnight, and I just signed a lease on a penthouse apartment with an elevator that went up to the top. And before I even got out of bed, I was 60 grand in a hole. And as COVID struck, a lot of people got fired. And so there I was, living off savings. I was eating out of a soup kitchen at the University of Melbourne. I had a 3-year-old at the time who was primarily in my care. And I had it all on the line. I really put everything. I had 7 tutors. I put most of my savings into living for that year and into the GAMSAT, and I needed to be successful. So this week off for me was super stressful. And then, I just wasn't ready by the end of that week. And I knew the principle: when tired, rest; when hungry, eat; when ready, act. I wasn't ready. I was tired, so I rested another week. And then by 2 weeks, I'm like, dude, I'm throwing this away. But I've burnt out a couple of times before. And I knew from that job in sales, the one I just told you about, that if you don't rest, life will force you. So I continued to rest. I just did nothing for 3 weeks. And then finally, it's like half a week before the exam, I felt better. I was ready to go, and I devoured the exam. You need to manage your energy like you manage your finances. You can't just grind. It just won't be worth it. So what to do? Well, look, here's a few things that might help. 1, if there are more demands on your energy than you have energy, then what you need to recognize is there are really 2 options. You can, spread yourself thin and give everything a little bit, and that'll work to get you by, but it's not going to help you achieve at the 100th percentile in each of those things. Now, when I say the 100th percentile, I'm not referring to of everybody, of yourself. You want to be at the 100th percentile of yourself on that day. Spreading yourself thin won't work. Now, you wouldn't be attending to each of these little things if you didn't feel that all of them were in some way important, that there was some consequence for failing to do one of them. But here's the thing. Since you know that you can't spread yourself thin, and since you know that there are more demands on your energy than you have energy to give, and you can't invent energy, you're going to have to list everything that's using your energy, prioritize it strategically, and cut from the bottom, and know that you're going to have to cut and pay the bill up front in cash. Whatever the consequence is, just bam. And then direct the remainder of your energy to the things higher up in the list. 2, build a greater foundation of energy. There are some things in your life that if you do that thing, you get more energy back than the energy you put in. Maybe it's going for a walk, maybe it's going to the beach or a hobby. Consciously make rituals for well-being to invest and then recycle that energy into additional study. But to get back to the point, 3, you're feeling unmotivated. So where do you get inspiration from? See if you can connect yourself with some of the reasons that you wanted to do this. look, this may be TMI, but, and I know this doesn't mean this, but what I made getting into med mean was that I had transcended my childhood abuse. That what it was that had happened to me, that those people weren't successful in causing me to be a bad person. That sexual abuse or later on drug addiction, which I've been sober from 10 years, that these things weren't stains on me and they weren't going to cause me to be brought down and to be bad. That if even in spite of all that, I could overcome it and be a good person and devote myself to helping others, that would in some way furnish a transcendence of what had happened to me. Does it mean that? No, it doesn't, but I made it mean that. I let it mean that because it drove me to study. You need a why. Consider Buster Douglas. I don't know if you know about Mike Tyson. He was a boxer. He was a heavyweight boxer. He was fearsome, right? He was just massive, and he would just I think he had 54. There was a point where he had 54 consecutive wins, nearly all by knockout. You just took people's heads off. And he ended up fighting this guy called Buster Douglas, and Buster was okay, but not the best. And the fight started and it went the way it normally would go. Mike Tyson knocked him down, and just before he got counted out, he got back up. And then later in the match, he knocked out Mike Tyson, and the whole world was just in a roar. So, whoa, what happened? And then after, they interviewed Buster and they said, Buster, what happened? And he said, I told my mum I was going to knock out Mike Tyson. And a week ago, my mum died. See, Buster had a why that was bigger than Mike Tyson. You need a why. Why are you doing this? Are you doing it because your parents want you to? Are you doing it because there's nothing else that's going to make you happy? Getting in touch with that why will furnish or drive, rather, inspiration, which will help with motivation. Okay? But you might find, even though you're motivated, that it might not just last through all the study that you think you need to do. My suggestion to you would be to apportion your time to the things which you feel like doing. Maybe you don't feel like doing some section 3, but I could listen to a podcast. Find something that helps. Sometimes the very thing that needs to be done is just go for a walk and get away from it all. Get some distance, right? Everything becomes easy when you're at ease. All right, that was like a super long word vomit. I did not expect any of that was going to come out. It's 1 a.m. and I just wanted to talk to you guys. I was worried about you, and I hope some of that helps. I'm going to start to make more of an effort to be a bit more personal with you guys and put more effort into this channel. So if you found something useful here, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon so you get notified when the freshest content drops, and I will see you soon.